Hi, I'm Adrienne Bankert here on Morning in America. We've partnered with Patch, a trusted hyper-local news site serving more than 1,200 communities nationwide to bring you the top feel-good stories across the nation each week. Here's what you're seeing on Patch right now. An exclusive this morning, our police officer think tank, a chance for you to get your questions answered. A lot of people have violent crime and the number of mass shootings top of mind, as they've been seeming to happening quite a bit this year, with more than 200 mass shootings this year alone in the U.S., according to the Gun Violence Archive. There has been an emotionally charged response from the community, and there are a lot of questions about what really needs to change to prevent another tragedy. So let's bring back our police officer think tank to answer some of your big questions. We do have Lieutenant Eric Strong with the L.A. County Sheriff's Department. We have to mention he's also a candidate in the race for L.A. Sheriff right now, and a retired sergeant from Middletown Township, New Jersey. We want to say thank you, Eric Deickmann, for being with us this morning. Eric, all of this criticism of local police, we've seen this happening more and more over the years, and it's being done again in one of the most recent mass shootings in our country. Is this criticism justified?
Most of the criticism, I believe, is based on the initial reports that fall by the wayside. People don't follow it afterwards. A lot of the facts aren't out. As far as Uvalde, they're not. All the facts aren't out yet, and people are just basing their opinion on what they learned in the first day or two, and things have changed since then.
Eric, you know, I know that you obviously are a veteran of the police force there. What do you think can be done in towns where, similar to what happened in Uvalde, police departments like these tiny police departments that were trying to respond to this mass shooting at an elementary school would be possibly outgunned and were awaiting other resources to come, like other cities, big cities, might have at their disposal?
Well, equipment is key. The way I understand it is the first responding officers, they entered the building and they didn't have any ballistic shields or helmets. I don't know if they were made available to them, but they didn't have them. And immediately upon entering the school, they had gunfire coming from the gunman, and they took cover and they held him. They isolated him until the tactical teams got there, and they didn't have much of a choice to do exactly what they did.
I have to talk to you, Lieutenant Strong, about this. Do you think that in terms of training and weaponry, are our rural police departments and sheriff's offices properly equipped for kinds of mass tragedies like this one?
I think the reality of it is that nobody's really equipped for this kind of stuff, because you never know what you're going to come up against. We're seeing a lot more advanced technology and weaponry getting in the hands of people that should never have had access to it to begin with. I think what we need to really focus on is preparing for these kind of things ahead of time, and as well as tactics and training, best practices nationwide. We'll never actually have the equipment and the weapons needed to deal with some of these things, but it's important that our training, our tactics, and our protocols are sound and in place.
And should there be universal training? Because clearly it appears that there's different training whether you are in a big city or a rural department.
Well, of course, because you have different geographic areas, you have different weather conditions and all these kind of things. So it can't necessarily be a national standard. There will need to be adjustments, but I think it is important that law enforcement, especially with so many agencies in the United States, that they do have some of the basics that they can work together, especially when coming to large events and large-scale incidents like this.
Eric, I have to ask you another question. Would there be pressure to blame an agency in a case where there is so much community outrage?
I'm sorry. I thought you were still talking to the lieutenant. I think they are basing their opinion again on facts that were presented to them but have changed.
Let's talk a little bit more, Eric, about the police response in terms of going in when you know the suspect outguns you, when you know that you don't have the resources to preserve life outside of that enclosed area. This was inside of that classroom. What is the expectation? What's the mentality? Do you go in sacrificially? Is that what our police today are being trained to do?
Well, they're trained to go in and to isolate the gunman. In this case, they went in, they took fire, they took cover, and they isolated them. There was a chief on it. What people should know is there was a chief on the scene that that made the call. And communication is key. Communication can be crazy in times like this, but he was not aware apparently that there were still children in the classroom. So he treated it as to neutralize the subject, to keep them in there until the tactical team got there. They were taking gunfire. They were outgunned. They did the best they could under the circumstances. People can critique that all day long, but he had certain information that he acted on. He he held them in the classroom till the tactical team got there. Once they got there, they were deployed. They engaged them, and he was neutralized. There's no right answer. There are guidelines that we have to follow, but each individual incident is unique. So you have to go in and treat every situation as it comes to you.
Rich, you to have one more comment here. I know that obviously these are split-second decisions that are made, but what can we do to better equip smaller and medium-sized towns, police departments, sheriff's offices, with better equipment or better responses to some of these tragedies?
Well, if they could have federal grants that would give them, for instance, in my town, several years ago, we had a tactical car on the road. He would respond to any major incident, but not all of our cars had shields. Not all of our cars had ballistic helmets. We had an ESU team. Some officers were on it, some weren't. They had the equipment in their car when they were working. But I guess if we could put the ballistic shields and helmets in the car and train them just as if they were on an ESU team. I mean, the way things are going now, everybody should be trained equally because it's getting bad. And the average officer entering that school that day, he wasn't ready for what he found.
Lieutenant Strong and retired Sergeant Rich Deickmann, thank you both very much for being here and answering our questions. Those are our top feel-good stories from Patch. Keep watching Morning in America live starting at 7 a.m. 6 Central Time weekdays only on NewsNation.